Hi everyone, it's Olivia at Real Life Prosthetics. Today we're talking about prosthetic feet and options that an amputee might have. One thing that really dictates a lot of what we can do as prosthetists and what we can provide is what insurance allows us to. So in short and sweet, insurance is going to provide what's the most functionally appropriate for your activities of daily living, no more and no less. They want to have a justified K level or a justified functional level that kind of tells them what your daily activities are. Those categories are K0, K1, K2, K3, and K4. We've kind of got these feet organized in those 4 categories, and we'll talk about kind of features of each individual category. So if you're a K0 amputee, you're not a candidate for prosthetic use. Insurance has deemed that you likely are not even using a prosthesis, but if you're a K1, you could be doing light standing transfers, very limited ambulation, and this is what would be an appropriate prosthetic foot for that K1 category. So it's a pretty lightweight foot. You can see inside here it has just kind of one single axis feature to it, and the inside has a little bit of a structure, but the majority of what makes up some of its structure is just its foam shell. So that's a single axis foot. Again, it pivots a little bit and it's most appropriate for a K1 prosthetic user. Moving up to what we call a limited community ambulator would be a K2 category. These people are able to go out into their community with some difficulty. They could go to a grocery store as long as it's nice, level, paved ground, things like that. They're not walking excessive distances, but they are walking. Assistive device or not, the definition is not changed if you use a walker or a cane or no assistive device. Still be classified as maybe a K2 if that sounds like functional activities that you're doing. So K2 prosthetic feet maybe have a few more features. This particular one has a hydraulic unit that allows for a little smoother gait. And it gets a little bit more advanced with the kind of componentry, or what we call the keel or tangs on the foot. You can see this one is a kind of proprietary blend, likely a fiberglass or something of that material. Prosthetic feet change visually pretty significantly when you get into K2 and plus feet. They start to not use kind of their own encapsulated structure, but they're actually individual prosthetic feet that get paired with an individual foot shell. All these feet now that we talk about here use some sort of foot shell. So you might see this on a poster, but when it's actually on a prosthetic device, this is what it looks like. It gets, put inside. One thing to mention too about these foot shells is they don't last forever. They're a disposable or a wear item, as well as we call it a Spectra sock that covers the foot. These materials are very rigid, fiberglass or a carbon fiber, and they'll wear right through the foot shell if you don't have this special Kevlar sock. It's called a Spectra sock. So those are always a 2-part deal, and they get paired with the feet. Moving up into a K3 category would put you at an unlimited community ambulator. So any uneven terrain, stairs, ramps, curbs, opening doors, going to crowded stores where people could bump you and you still have stability, again, with or without assistive devices, get into the K3 category. This is the point at which prosthetic feet really open up to the options. There's probably maybe 20 different K2 feet that are allowed or that are on the market. Then you get into K3 feet and there's probably 100 or something. Some features of K3 feet, again, as defined by insurance, would be some things like energy restoring or side-to-side flexibility or torsion kind of units that absorb torsion. Again, just more impact, more absorption. I like to think of some prosthetic feet as kind of diving boards. The more that you can kind of roll forward and crush that spring, the more it'll give you a bounce and promotion forward. That's that energy return feature that some prosthetic feet advertise that they're able to do, is return and store and return that energy. This is a very common looking prosthetic foot for a K3 category. The taller the J's start to get, maybe the more energy storing they get, and that's where we have a fun feature, maybe dipping into the K4 category, where we get into these big running blades and things, where they have huge J shapes, and you can imagine you can really compress this spring, then you get huge amounts of energy return. Again, K3, way more options. So then now you can start to consider various little features. This particular K3 foot has a hydraulic microprocessor feature to it. So the ankle actually can move and adjust to that uneven terrain, things like that. So it just allows for like a little smoother rollover. I like to say feet can be thought about like cars, how you want your car suspension to handle. So if you're a real sporty person, you want tight, responsive suspension, then maybe you should go with maybe a little bit stiffer foot to get that energy response from it. But if you're like more like a Cadillac person, you want a nice, smooth operating thing, then maybe consider the hydraulics. Lots of different feet on the market, motivated by insurance. Yeah, and I think that's it for prosthetic feet. If you have any questions, give us a call or an email. Have a good one.